Margery Allingham was born in 1904 and died in 1966, which I think was way too early, really. And she was an English novelist from what the internet will call the golden age of detective fiction, and the internet will also claim that she is considered one of the four queens of crime, along with Agatha Christie, who absolutely everyone has heard of, and I have read most of, still collecting them. Dorothy L. Sayers, who, before I started researching this, I could have sworn I'd never heard of, only she had a character who I have heard of, so I must have read some of hers at some stage when I wasn't paying attention to authors very much. And Nao Marsh. Nao Marsh is not someone you hear talked about very much. My parents had some of her books on their bookshelf. Never realised it was her, actually, when I was young. Right next to Margery Allingham. So I grew up reading Allingham's books and Nao Marsh's books. Loved Allingham's, always kept them. They are mostly in horrible condition as a consequence of rereading. I've always felt that comparing Margery Allingham to Agatha Christie is a little bit unfair. Because, in my unprofessional and probably unpopular opinion, she is a far better writer. Now, both Allingham and Christie probably started in the publishing in the 20s. I know Allingham didn't get her big break until the end of the 20s, but I think Christie was already established at that point. And that might be why, and she had a long career and wrote lots of books. But in those very early days, I think that the two had a very similar style. They were writing about English characters, often in English settings. But I think Allingham wrote slightly better. Now, this copy of Mystery Mile is a new one. I recently got it in the UK, so that was just last month. And I had to read it because it's been so long since I read an Allingham that was new to me. Here, as we can see on the cover, there is a dedication by Agatha Christie, which I found funny and ironic, which is why I bought this copy. There were a number of Allinghams available in Zardos's warehouse, and I had to pick. I picked two, and this was one of them. Margery Allingham stands out like a shining light. Everything she writes has a definite shape. ... Each book has its own separate and distinctive background. I wonder if that character is meant to be Agatha Christie while she's saying it, or the main protagonist in this book. Albert Campion. Neither of them, I suspect. Anyhow, it's in great condition. I really love it. I shall read it again many times. Now, Mystery Mile is set in England, in the England of the 20s. So 20s or 30s, I can't remember. So in between the two wars, and that was England in a very specific setting of its phase, where people who had been on the land for a long time were starting to need more income streams. We've even got this cute map here that I absolutely adore of Mystery Mile. Mystery Mile appears to be an island connected by a causeway. It's not actually, it's surrounded by river and salt marshes, which is an important part of the plot, much of which happens on top of it. But we start on a sea voyage coming back to England, where we're introduced to our main character, Albert Campion. Now, Albert Campion was apparently the character that Margery Allingham was best known for, and I didn't know that. I don't think I've ever read anything with him. The first in the series was The Crime in Black Dudley, and I don't think I've ever encountered that one. And he was only a side character in there, but here he comes to the fore. He's a mysterious, whimsical, odd sort of character who is on this ship being prattled to by an art merchant from the Levant, if you will, when he manages to prevent a horrible death for Judge Crowdy Lobbit. Judge Lobbit is retired, and with his son and his daughter is travelling to England in order to hide from a gang that seems to want him down. There's a gang called Sinister, and it has a mysterious and sinister head who has never been seen or heard of. No one knows who they are, and they seem to have been going for well nigh 100 years, making it even more sinister. The Sinisters. Dad jokes aside. The way this builds is a lot of fun, and the writing is primarily what makes it fun. It's a great little story. Now, the internet also believes that Campion was created to be a parody of Dorothy L. Sayers' Detective Lord Peter Wimsey, which was my hint that I had actually read Dorothy L. Sayer, because even though I'm pretty sure I don't have any in my collection, and it's been a long time, I do remember Lord Peter Wimsey. I don't think I liked him that much, which may be why I didn't seek out any more, or maybe I just never found more of it. Allingham's credentials as a writer are significant. Both her parents were literary, and her aunt brought out a magazine in which Allingham's first story appeared when she was 8 years old. Her professional career didn't really take off until the late 20s, early 30s, and she died in her 60s, nor was she as prolific as Agatha Christie, which is probably why the comparisons. And I haven't read as many of hers. I've only read about half a dozen Margery Allinghams, but each one, the writing impresses me. You've got beautiful turns of phrases, you've got tiny things that set the scene, and you've got characters. She does a wealth of characters. So all the characters that live in Mystery Mile, part of this little village, and she describes the village as having these two opposing strains that look quite different. You've got old George, who is the mayor, and his brother Henry, who is actually Henry, but who is a bit dull and doesn't talk too well. You've got a lot of things that would probably not fly in a modern book, but which make it feel so alive. There is a liveness to this book that you just don't see in many other mystery writers. And I would include Naomi Marsh in that. She may be a queen of crime, but I found her plots difficult to get behind compared to Margery Allingham, where they just fall into your lap. They wrap you in joy as you go along. This is a rather rambling review, which is probably partially due to the fact that I stayed up to 2 a.m. to finish this book, because I had to finish this book. We all know how that feels. Okay, so if you like mysteries, especially Golden Age detective fiction, and you've never read any Margery Allingham, you should. If you like English fiction, mystery, detective stuff in general, then I can't see you not enjoying this book. So I think you should go away and read a good Margery Allingham now, and I'll see you with my next review. Thank you very, very much for watching. I do appreciate it. Like, if you can, comment, because I love the comments. I like the discussions. And subscribe or hype or whatever the algorithm wants you to do, because I love giving these reviews and I'm going to keep doing it. Bye. Read good books.